Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Allen. Here. Mr. Ward. Here. Mr. Vanderhook.
Here.
Mr. Schultz. Here. Any additions or subtractions to today's agenda?
I don't have any.
Motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any corrections or additions to the February 6th, 2024 minutes?
Move for their approval.
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Community Foundation check presentation.
Number showed up.
Looking rotunda.
I suppose. Probably get them all in the room. Maybe like 16 original.
I get in the paper enough.
She would stop that.
You're never gonna get everybody to shut up long enough out there. Mike was awake.
What's that?
Earl, he was awake.
He looks there. Did your team win for the Super Bowl?
I told one of the players because of the Iowa State knock.
He's
That
a,
one, that I thought, Kansas City's a lot closer.
he's a pretty impressive young man.
He is. Was he the first rookie to go to the Super Bowl?
I think so.
He was the last
One
to
of the
be
youngest.
drafted,
Yeah.
the last number to be drafted.
No, go ahead.
Smile for him too. Smile for him too.
I get in the paper enough, I don't need another picture.
Kind of got some good news yesterday. They don't think my grandson has Perthes disease.
Oh, cool.
They're hoping.
Good.
They think it's transit something. It's still can't do anything for 6 weeks. So we'll see.
How did they check that?
X-rays. They thought he had Perthes disease, and that's when your blood stops flowing to the hip bone, and then it dies, and then it will regenerate, but it takes like 2 to 4 years. So no sports, no PE, no nothing. And he'd be in a wheelchair and a walker, but they don't think it's that. So hopefully the doctor is correct about that.
Yeah, that's good
And what
news.
is the police, they think he might have the same.
Transit synovitis, I can't even say it, but it's similar to Perthes. He still can't do anything for 6 weeks. His feet has to be on the ground. So no running, jumping, bicycling, skateboard, none of that for 6 weeks. 6. And he's my grandson that is very athletic and loves to play soccer and wrestling, and
They can't do that.
for 6 weeks at least.
It's gonna be hard to hold them
Yeah,
down.
the kid's always running and sliding on his knees, and he's just loves to play soccer. He plays soccer with the 4th graders, and
His grandma.
See, back when we were growing up, that wouldn't be an issue, but now you got video games and everything else. to do, so-
But she's afraid he doesn't want to get him addicted to that either. So hopefully it's not that.
You got yours out of the way right away.
Yeah.
You picture?
Yep. Everybody criticized me anyway because I never smile.
That's what my wife always says. She said the picture I took with my, I don't know if you saw the picture with my grandson in the press news. That's the only time I've ever seen you smile, she says.
Well, I hate having my picture taken to begin
Yeah,
with.
Me too.
I hate it. Try to avoid it like the
I do
plague.
too.
Hate it.
My wife, she can take 40 pictures and she won't like 40 of them.
Yeah, see, I'm that way too. That's why I don't take pictures. I saw something flashing over there. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for your help at the windmill fiasco.
No. Yeah. Did it finally just let loose?
Yeah,
Because it looks like there's a bunch of debris.
It blew the back off.
It did blow it off. Okay.
So I
Someone
think-
was saying they got into repair. I was like, it looked like that. Someone got into repair. It
It
looked like
blew the back right off.
that's what it looked like
But nobody saw it happen though, so.
overnight. Well, the sound was not healthy.
Oh, that was terrible. I never, yeah. Usually you can't hear them things at all.
Get these over here.
You just told me you had a sinus infection. You just told me you had a sinus infection. Sitting over here.
You didn't know there were assigned seats?
What's that?
You didn't know there were assigned seats?
I didn't. I do now.
Are you serious?
I was gonna say, you should have paid attention a long time ago.
You know, sometimes it's just better not. Did you find everything you were looking for?
Even stuff I didn't know I needed.
Even stuff you didn't know you needed.
Yep.
That is how that place works.
Yes, yes.
Costco in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I know.
What's that all about?
Well, it's at 9:15, yeah, so it's
Got them all done?
I know, but they make you walk pretty much.
My wife brought me through one of those.
Just like 3 places in the store you can cut across the
Yeah.
Oh, my wife got me one of those. It was one of the most unenjoyable experiences of my entire life.
Well, either that or he's gonna come up and talk to you, right? So, yeah, he just, that,
Yeah. Oh, Costco.
system that he emailed you and me. He just wanted to go over that with you and kind of explain it to you, so.
I really want to know part of this. Just saying.
Sure, you wanna run the whole show.
No, I don't.
Right, John?
That's right.
Yeah, when it
Most
no-
women do.
Yeah. But most men don't listen to me, so it don't matter. Doesn't matter what I think.
It must be true, Cassandra's sitting back there in the corner saying she's not agreeing to anything.
Look at the ball.
We know, we know.
It's like we're getting difference.
Yeah. But you may always feel
So,
like
so
you're
that
good.
is good.
You just get that warm fuzzy, you know? The problem
I was just assuming,
everything is
why was I
done.
assuming that that was all gonna be the same day, the same
There's
and
no small portion of it.
So like we bought, one time, I was gonna buy some Danishes. And I just wanted one pack. And I'm like, that's $2.
Shoot my decision if I'm gonna drive to Spencer in the morning.
Oh, I'll probably go.
just getting to the time.
Sheldon was saying that they're for less than an inch for us.
Today, so.
But no one knows.
Isn't that crazy?
And we originally were supposed to get 1 to 3 tonight, we done. Looking at Kellogg this morning, it looks like we got one coming through tonight, and then the one tomorrow night, looks like it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's not the US, kept saying it's supposed to
Now
be
it's showing it come right across, so I don't know, it's fake news, the weather's all fake news.
So we keep.
The only job you can have when you're probably.
Did you change your first name to Donald?
For like a month or a month.
Did you change
We're
your
going
first
to
name
Trevor's
Donald?
this weekend, so hopefully
Well, now you're the February one.
Kurt will drive with me, but it's okay.
So anyway, yeah, that's where.
At least I picked somebody.
Screw those two up and do a bunch of these.
Yeah. I think a motion to approve the pay raise for Pearl Hernandez as part-time dispatcher jailer.
I'll make that motion.
Support it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Kevin, I did tell
Motion
Matt
carries.
that, we voted for the
That next
jail.
one is gonna take
I
a
didn't know it was
while.
gonna block my.
Yeah, they're all gonna take a while, so that's.
So now I'm gonna need a botanical garden, some bird
Well, at least we
feeders.
got that one out of the way.
You got the easy one out of the way.
Get a horn ready. I think it's a good idea.
Are you gonna be here for the 9:30 thing too, for that opioid board, or do you have something going on?
I plan on it, yeah.
Did you see that thing I sent you from Dave and Nicole? I emailed you something.
Yes, I saw that.
That career day.
Oh,
You want us to set up a table?
Well, that was nice. My husband texted me too this morning, so that was nice.
I told her happy Valentine's Day. We went in the house this morning, so I'm covered.
Well, my husband leaves at 4:30, so I'm glad he didn't wake me up to tell me that. Yeah, he texted me, so it's all good.
Your Valentine's Day gift was not knowing this.
Right.
See, so he was pretty nice to you.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
Can I just leave this with you? And then I put papers down on my desk there, so this
You should have left it with me, Mike.
Oh, it's roll day. I knew I came here for some reason. Otherwise, I think, do you want me to take that chair?
Sure, go for it.
We'll let you guys get back to work.
See, it might go out with that cane. When I had my knee done, I had a cane. If it was all done, it says you're not using it right. I didn't know there was a right and a wrong way to use a cane.
What's the right way?
I had this knee done, you're supposed to use it with your left hand then. I said, why?
You didn't know that?
Didn't make sense to me.
I mean, couldn't you tell by the way wouldn't that be better to walk with it? I know when I use my left hand, because my right leg is bad, I can't use it on my right hand.
I just used that cane instead of using my right leg. Just walked that way and it worked good.
Well, there must be a new way to do it.
That's what crutches are for.
Right?
That's what crutches are for, not using the leg.
My son's having his knee scoped tomorrow, so he thinks he's only have be crutches on a day or two. We'll see.
Post from Caitlin.
What?
Might be a little better outlook for nights.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hopefully, but
Yeah, I hope
time will
so.
tell.
She's not convinced, but it's that nurse in her. But hopefully, way better outcome than the 2 to 4 years. But try to keep that kid grounded.
6
hoping.
months is a major accomplishment, I'm sure.
6 weeks, yeah. That kid loves soccer. He played soccer every recess with 4th graders. But no riding bike, no skateboard, no nothing.
Feet on the ground at all
Yeah,
times.
that's
so.
impossible with that kid.
But that's better than sitting there doing this.
Yeah, she's afraid of that too. He's always never had any sittings.
It's 9:15, time for department heads, we'll start with the auditor.
Yeah, we just got through January, got through 1099s and all the end of the year stuff. Chantry just got done with the egg laying and family farm credits and working on budgets and gearing up for the primary election. It's coming down the pike.
Sheriff's Department?
Not a whole lot going on. January 31st, I went, our association had a legislative reception. I invited our legislators down there. Lynn Evans showed up, talked to him, and talked to several other ones about just what's going through the Capitol right now. That's kind of interesting and fun. That's
County Attorney?
We've got a variety of civil things I've been working on with different departments. Things involving wrapping up some land transactions, and there's a closing set the next week or so for the Dreesen property, so we hope to get that wrapped up. Been busy in juvenile court, had a few challenging removal situations involving juveniles recently that we've been working through, and certainly with juvenile mental health resources and the limits on that, we've been learning some tough lessons the past week with all that. So that's been keeping us busy. Besides that, it's kind of a bit of a lull between criminal trials because we had planned to have one the past week or 2 weeks ago and ended up getting moved, and we have another big one in March, and we're just using as many of our jury trial dates or specially set dates as we can recently, as we've been staying busy there too. So.
Economic Development?
So as you saw before we started, Community Foundation grants are going out. We awarded a little over $150,000 to 39 different groups from the county. So those checks are getting dispersed here in the next few weeks. We're planning for the career day at the Sibley Oak Sheehan School, reaching out to various careers. Even spoke to Rochelle about having government political table there to answer questions. So if one of the supervisors wants to go and talk about what it's like to be a politician, you're more than welcome.
Elected official.
Tracy House Museum and DeBoer Grocery Museum both have significant foundation type issues. So I am looking at funding options to possibly help both of those museums. And then next week I have a meeting with Bright Beginnings Board to discuss potential options for expanding daycare here in the county.
Have we made any headway? Somebody asked me about dental options, if we were making any headway bringing a dentist.
So the dentist I was working with has met with the hospital board, and the hospital board is open to working with them for the old clinic. They're currently doing their homework right now as far as financing and everything, so the potential's still there, it's just a matter of them getting all their ducks in a row.
I think we're the only county out of the 4-county area for like ECI that doesn't have a dentist in the county.
Correct, we're a high-level county, so whatever dentist we get, they can get up to $200,000 back in tuition assistance. So they're aware of that option. They've already talked to people from the state, from IEDA, IEDG, and it's just a matter of them figuring out the financial part. But it's looking good, so my fingers are crossed.
Treasurer's office.
Well, we've been busy actually collecting taxes already. They're coming in pretty hot, so that's good. Busy with renewals, driver's license, drive tests.
Engineer?
Thank you. So the G20 bridge, the false work is pretty much complete on that bridge. We have a pre-pour meeting set for the 26th, at which point when they get a warm stretch after that, they will likely pour the deck on that bridge. The shop, I'm getting shop drawings this week to go over the steel and the foundation, so they're getting antsy to want to start the construction on that as well. Equipment-wise, the sign truck, we expect to get that sign truck this week, and the old sign truck is being advertised for auction, and we have already received interest on that. We've received the bulk of the insurance payouts for the fire. There's going to be an upcoming budget amendment to deal with both the payments into us and the expenses that we've spent in this current fiscal year because the budget happened before the fire. And then last, I will be gone next week for a couple days for training in Denison. And then lastly, I want to give a shout out to Brian Watterson, who was named 20 under 40 here in the county.
Conservation.
Working on trailers and other equipment, getting stuff ready to go for spring and summer, painting some signs, working on burn plans. Matt is halfway through his archery in the schools at the Sibley Middle School, shooting bows. I think he finishes up with that next week. We had our Trout Fest event out at Willow Creek, back when we had ice. It really couldn't have worked out any better because I don't know that if Trout Fest was scheduled for Sunday, if it was gonna happen. But nobody fell through. Some kids stepped through some holes. That's as far as the catastrophes went. We had a pretty good turnout. We have a Hunter's Ed online field day scheduled for March 23rd. If anybody knows anybody that's interested in taking the Hunter's Ed program. As Nolan mentioned, we have the Dreesen closing next week. And then we have been working on a land trade with the Osceola County Sportsman's Club for a piece of property that they own down kind of by the dairy in the southern part of the county for the area that they are currently leasing from us for the shooting range. It's just something that Bill brought to our attention and trying to limit its liability. So I'm trying to work through that a little bit. And then we were the recipient of a Osceola Community Foundation grant.
Thank you very much.
And I want to commend the conservation for a good job they did at Trout Fest. And I come there with my grandson, and he gave me a pole and baited it, and I stuck it in the water, and he caught a fish. So, I don't know if they'll do that for everyone. Anyway, good job. It was a nice turnout. Lots and lots of kids.
Sheila brought rolls. Grab yourself a roll. Thanks.
She had too much time with us already today, she disappeared or what?
I don't know.
Hey, Nick, is this 30,000, is that your drive, is that the drive?
That's the driveway. Yeah.
Just check.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Start discussion on Iowa Code 331.425, addition to levy special levy election.
You've done what you got around.
You're not needed, Jerry.
We were moving along without you.
I don't blame you. I'd be hesitant to call for the election at this point. I don't think it's workable. I don't think that, as much as I want to push back and try to make a point, I don't think it would be wise at this point. I think what Nolan sent off and sent us a copy of Friday was in line with our concerns and at least starting to address the issue. Can maybe build a case for considering it next year, but I don't think, especially for the auditor's sanity, it would be wise to
I would agree with that. I think the
proceed
person
this
that have
year.
to deal with it would be Rochelle, and we can walk away from it, basically. But
It's not fair to the taxpayers because they won't even know anything about this election because it's not fair to them. If we're going to have an election, we need to make sure they're aware of it and able to vote on it. Legislation needs to.
Which is why previous legislation that allowed the people sitting around the table assessing the situation to make a decision on behalf of the voters that wouldn't have the time in their time frame to be educated on an issue made sense. I don't know why it had to change, but that's not directed at you.
No, I know.
I was approached by some other counties to see if we'd be interested in participating in lobbying to get this removed.
I've received interest in using the special election. I've not heard of that. What counties were, Emmett County was one that had talked to me, Clay County and somewhat, but
20-some counties. 23, I think.
the southern tier of counties use that excess levy for years, and they're going to be hurting with this change, devastated by this change. So I would guess that many of them down there, but
Once I get more information, I'll bring it to the board and see if you guys would be interested, but I'd like to see it go.
Yeah, I guess my initial thoughts would be I'd like to use the ISAC resources and the opportunities we have there as to go out on our own or spend funds on our own, but
I would have been in agreement with that, but then looking for how that bill was endorsed, everybody that represented board of supervisors, auditor, treasurer, and all those other groups started out against it, and then when it came time to vote on it, everybody switched undecided. The League of Cities stayed against it, the tax reform group stayed against it, so I don't understand why the people representing all the elected offices that were definitely against it switched undecided to take the heat off those legislators in order to pass that unanimously out of both houses. I don't know, it just seemed kind of an odd approach to me, but.
I'd encourage you to reach out to them and ask. I don't recall exactly how that changed or went down, but
I couldn't find a single auditor that was for it, so why the lobbying group would have switched to undecided, or for the counties or cities to switch that, I thought it was odd, but. So that might be why we're looking, as a group of counties are looking to hire outside lobbyists to try to push to get this off.
did that pass unanimously?
Both houses, yep, not one single dissenting vote.
In either party?
Nope.
718, really?
Yep.
I remember 619 being
I pulled it
divided,
up
but
last week or whatever it was when I was looking to see who endorsed for the lobbying groups.
It's hard to believe they could all agree on
Yeah,
something.
they all agreed on that.
Yeah.
And then we also have this, Keith. You want to give us a little insight into?
This, I'm still trying to figure out the 718 because it wasn't on my radar. You guys have been talking about it, but and all the engineers started worrying about it in terms of how it's going to affect the amount of money they're getting. So a lot of counties are getting more than the minimum 75% effort. So now what I'm seeing is those counties that are now going to have some issues collecting tax revenue, the low-hanging fruit for the punishment of that is going to be those secondary roads departments who are getting more than 75%. You know, the legislature restricts how you can collect taxes. You are giving more taxes than you needed to, then that's the easy place to balance those books. So a lot of county engineers are very worried about this 718 now. What you see there was Dickinson, they kind of did a quick calculation of if the growth exceeded the 3% threshold, what the damage would be, or what it would be if you exceeded the, is it 4 to 6% threshold or over 6%? There's like a no man's land in there where it's better to have less than 3% growth than it is to have 6% growth because of how those reductions happen. So the math is all over the place. I haven't run the math for our situation because we're at the minimum 75%. But I have to assume that I will keep my 75% by state law. Somewhere else in your county budget, you're going to have to cut for this if we grow more than 3%. If we don't grow more than 3%, then there doesn't seem to be an issue, is how I'm reading this right now. And I think that falls into a lot of that discussion about getting together and lobbying on this issue. A lot of road departments are worried about it. Especially the ones that are like at 80, 85, 86% of effort.
What was our growth last year?
8%.
That was our increase last year, was?
valuation increase.
Valuation increase was
Our growth is
8%.
limited to 3%.
3%, right?
Because of that.
That's what we
But
can.
because of that 8%, you still have to calculate the 75% effort based on the 8%
growth.
That's the problem that we're getting
You can only
into.
bring in 3% more, so scenario 6 is
Is us.
what we will.
So selfishly, my budget's neutral because I'm already at the minimum, but somewhere else in the county, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, we take all your money comes out of rural, not general, so I was worried about the rural.
Well, I know counties have started assessing their staffing levels in order to comply with this.
Yeah, I know some county, their treasurer, they had a deputy quit and they're not replacing it because they don't know where the budgets are gonna be.
I would encourage everybody to refund this whole project.
And I go back to House File 619 and 718, and probably numerous others that went under the radar. The legislature specifically exempted themselves from 25B, which says if they pass something that is going to cost counties or keep counties from generating revenue, they have to provide financial offset. Prior to that, they even have to have, what is it, the LSA, provide financial projections and analysis. And so had they done that, I think this probably would have been highlighted and brought to legislators' attention, but I think that was entirely skipped. I'm not speaking.
I'm not sure if it was in that analysis or in another thing I read, but, you know, they specifically exempted themselves, so they acknowledged it.
Yes. They
And it's
know
like,
that they were going against what code would intend for them to do and specifically exempted.
Does that mean it can be subject to a court challenge?
And that's what our attorney sent them for an attorney general's opinion, but
I don't know.
I'm guessing they're gonna circle the wagons and.
I don't know how you exempt yourself from something that only applies to you.
Yeah, I get that that's a difficult thing that is fair to question. The reason that I think it was probably smart to ask for an attorney general's opinion, even if maybe we are aware that there might be some conflicts there, is because this is a very big question, right? You know, when you read appeals opinions involve criminal law, and they talk about, you know, is this law unconstitutionally vague or whatever it is. A article of faith that gets repeated again and again, that the power of state legislatures to make conduct legal or illegal is nearly unlimited with few restraints. And we're in the civil financial budgeting world of that. So I do think that it's possible to challenge this in court. Would that be successful? Given that nobody's challenged this specific part of the statute in court before, and they're writing it anew, well, the odds are that they would probably be found to have the power to exempt themselves from certain things, but, you know, I'm not 100% certain, and I'm more than happy to hear what other people might have an opinion on that. So that's kind of where I'm at for now.
When does this really start to affect in terms of budget year? Is it this budget year or is it a future budget year?
Next budget year, it started 24, 25.
25 budget year.
Yeah, they
So
want
everybody's in the middle of their budgets right now and seeing this,
yeah, this is the first year,
seeing
so.
the math, seeing the results.
But I mean, the counties that are like at 425 for the general, they have to be down to 350 or under by fiscal year 29. That's a lot to try to get down to when you're limiting your valuation that you can use. That's a lot.
None of the counties reached out to our legislators and said, yeah, we want you to pass this. So I don't did they not read it? Because every county I've talked to, no matter who your legislative representative is, they're like, we never pushed to have this passed.
I was told that the governor wanted a tax relief and it was going to happen. And the 718 was the better of the two evils, is what I was told. That's what they said in ISAC when we had that legislation on that. Lucas Beacon said that the governor she was adamant there's going to be a tax thing and this was better than the two evils. But you know, the general basic levy hasn't been increased since 1987. They're just banking on valuations. Well, when you're a bigger county, you probably have more growth than us. I mean, the cities are probably going to hurt more than the county is right now. I don't know.
I'd reach out to your legislators. 9:30, consider a county opioid board.
have to sit there. I don't really know where I can sit, but not today.
I think you should be in the hot seat.
This is kind of a joint effort with Rochelle and I, so. So we have this opioid money. Rochelle said it's right at, is it 29,000
Yeah.
something? A lot of money. And so I think when I was here for my budget, she kind of said, you know what, do you have any thoughts on that? And I really didn't at the time. And so I reached out to just some neighboring counties around us. I reached out to O'Brien, Sioux, Lyon, and Dickinson. And I heard from everybody except O'Brien. And there's a variety of things going on. So some are kind of steering it to the sheriff's office and letting the sheriff's office use it for programming. Sometimes in some schools they have liaison officers where they can, you know, develop that programming for the students. I think that's kind of what's going to be going on in Sioux County. They're also using it for some mental health and substance abuse activities for the jail and the sheriff's office staff. Dickinson County's allocating it towards drug court. I don't know what that means, but that's what she said.
They've got a separate court for drugs.
Okay. And then as well as substance abuse prevention curriculum in the school. And I don't know if they have a liaison officer or not in Dickinson. She did not mention that. Lyon County, she responded. She said in their county, the Board of Supervisors appointed like a committee that consisted of various entities, and they are commissioned to work on it. Sort of like the ARPA committee probably. Law enforcement, EMS, school, mental health, public health, those types of entities would be, you know, like a subcommittee type thing. And then a Board of Supervisor representative and then go with, you know, try to come up with some ideas. So I'm just kind of here sharing what some of the other counties are doing. We can go a completely different direction, but $29,000 is a lot of money. And when does it have to be spent by?
I don't know if there's any restrictions on it, is there?
There's a hard date for spending it by. They're just trying to handle reporting requirements that change depending on if we're using it for opiate mediation or mitigation or non-opiate mitigation and mediation. But I think all the things that you're talking about would generally fall under that opiate mitigation, so people are trying to use it for what we choose.
Mm-hmm.
And are we getting more money then than the 29, do you
I
know?
would imagine so. I mean, we're still participating in the settlements. I mean, in most of the notices that I receive, I don't even bring before you guys because this settlement arrangement will continue on unless you take this action to remove yourself from it. Or, you know, this is the new year of this, so I think it's something that will continue. How long, nobody knows, because half these companies are in bankruptcy anyways, and nobody knows how long that'll take to unwind. But, you know, I would imagine we'll get more money than the 29 grand we have.
I do know that Dr. Wilson, some time ago, she did a lunch and learn at the hospital. And it was about the opioid issues and all of that. And it was very informative. I attended. And, but I think education and prevention is a great way to use some of this money. However, I think, you know, we really have to bring it down to the level of, you know, not only middle school and high school, but it's an issue for young children too. I mean, because these, you know, this drug is being, you know, there's things that are laced with this, and these little kids have no idea. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for education for little kids. I know Dr. Costers made the comment one time. He said, you know, you take your little grandkids to the park and you just hope that there's, you know, nothing on the, on the equipment or, I mean, you just never know. Because of course, the first thing they do is they put their hands in their mouth. And so, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but, his kids live in the city too, and so we never know. But I truly believe we have it here too. I don't know what the stats are, I'm not that, privy to that information, but that's where having law enforcement and Nolan on a committee, they can bring that piece.
And I think what Pam and I had talked about previously about using some of the money for education, that does really, I think, is a sensible thing to me. And I think it's, it's hard in a community like this to know exactly what your biggest problem is at any given moment, right? And you can't use individual events to make you go one way or the other too much. But, just recently we've had situations with juveniles who are in homes where, intravenous meth use is a thing, and that's nothing new for us. But the more fentanyl we have, the more people we find with fentanyl or its analogs or people using fentanyl to replace opiate pain medication. One thing we've seen a couple times recently is it's younger kids that have access to this, whether they're using it or they're in a home. And that presents a bunch of problems, but I think that goes to what Pam's point is, average person off the street would say there's no reason why a 10-year-old needs to be educated about what a needle looks like and what, you need to be worried about to stay away from, or what the dangers are of somebody that has pills that aren't theirs, right? Because 10, 20 years ago, those pills were probably just somebody's opiate pain meds. Now they could be fentanyl and be substantially more dangerous. So I do think that it's great to have this committee or whatever to figure out what exactly we're gonna do with the money. But yeah, I think that a big thing would be community education and education in schools would be a great way to find some outlets for that money and use it.
I know that ISPAC spring conference, there's a best practices concerning opioid settlements
Yep.
planned, so that might be good too.
If you have any
Participate in or
materials
catch.
from that, I would take a look at that.
It's coming up,
Yeah, it's
right?
coming up in March,
Oh,
in their
okay.
March conference.
Okay, gotcha.
And you have the guidance, right, as to how the money can, right, or you do, or somebody does.
We do, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We talked about using some for administration, but someone mentioned last week that it was limited to 2 or 5% or something like that of the,
I'd have to look and
funds
see
we
what the
receive,
number
so-
is, but there is a limit. You can't, I think that was just to prevent people from folding it back into a basic operating budget.
because we stick in 2,500 or 5,000, so.
2,500, I
so
believe.
Might want to find out what that is and adjust that number to be in line with that. I can't remember that part.
Otherwise, that's kind of my thought on it, so it's,
When were you thinking about putting a group together?
pardon me?
When were you thinking about starting to put a group
Well,
together?
I wasn't, but I mean, I just kind of am asking for your input or what what.
And I'm happy to be a part of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has to be a multidisciplinary group. It can't just be, a few people because every discipline brings valuable information. I mean, the mental health people see a difference, and I was gonna mention too that, the schools, and maybe you know this, but there was funds available for the schools to receive Narcan. They can get so many kits of Narcan kits, and so I was thinking to use some of this money for that, but there was money
Is that state funded
Yes.
effort, I think?
provided for them, and so I think our school got 5 kits.
I think our sheriff's office did too, I think,
Did they?
in
Okay.
Sandy or,
They got a number,
I think so.
yes.
They got something, because we thought of that too, but I thought Sandy said that,
Sure.
And
but I don't know.
That makes sense because I think we had a conversation, I think with you and maybe even with you to some extent, Pam, about how when this opiate lawsuit started, we thought everybody was gonna be using it to buy Narcan. Well, Narcan's gotten cheaper and way easier to get, and so it's no longer like we're gonna be burning that much money on Narcan. So again, the usefulness of having a board to help us figure out where this money should go, or just a group of people who meet and talk about it, I think would be.
Would one of you wanna, be on this committee as well, or what are your thoughts? I'm happy to, pull a group together and,
If nobody else
just
wants to,
want
I
us
would
to do
consider
it and
if
report
somebody really
back,
wants
or
to.
how do you feel about it? I guess I don't know what you want your level of involvement to be.
If you're willing, that sounds, I think it'd be good to have a representative on it from the board. If not, I would just ask that, not giving them a blank check, but that we not be overly critical or scrutinizing when they do the work and come with a recommendation then, but I certainly think a seat at the table or in participating in it would be wise.
I'd be willing to be on that,
Okay.
but not during planting.
I'm sorry, what?
Not during planting.
Not during
I would probably reach out to some of the surrounding school districts, and so many of our kids go outside the county for school, to see if they're using any of their funding to do any of that education for those kids as well.
Okay.
And if they aren't, maybe we can pool our funds together to stretch that dollar a little further with both counties.
You could have like superintendent of school or somebody like that on there too.
Guidance counselor.
Yeah, guidance counselor, the superintendent or something like that.
Yeah, we just lost our guidance counselor, or we are losing her. The middle high school one, right? Is it
Just middle school.
Oh, we have one for middle school, and then we have a different one for high school. Oh, okay.
And elementary.
And I knew we had elementary, yeah, okay.
Could maybe set it up kind of like the assessors conference board and get a school board member from each school district to be that liaison to see what they're doing for their education with that.
I can reach out to Stan and probably Ashley. I don't know too many school officials in neighboring counties.
Just get the list from whoever's on the assessors board. You've got an HMS representative, Harris Lake Park.
Kyle McCarter is school board member for Osceola County and HMS.
Oh, okay,
I don't know if you know Kyle
okay.
or not.
You probably have a list of the superintendents. I get that to you. And then you would know, because I don't know what, since they're not in our county, what they're, like O'Brien or Dickinson and what they're all doing too, so. Because O'Brien would be part of Sheldon and from HMS. Okay, I'll try to remember to get that to you by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, I don't. You're welcome.
Anything else? Thanks, ma'am.
Oh, no, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Discuss office repairs.
Okay, so, they have the one cast iron pipe changed out, weren't we doing both of them? Or just the one? I thought we were doing both, but Reggie thought we were just doing one.
I thought both of them.
I thought too.
That's what I thought. Okay, I'll have them come back. Vince Plumbing did it, so. Another thing that was brought up to my attention is they're, redoing the clerk's room up there. That was a massive ceiling. And the clerk's office was wondering if we would consider putting new carpet in there like we're doing downstairs. I'm just asking what the board wishes are on that.
Does the state really need new carpet?
Don't
Maybe
know.
we can take it out of their budget.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, so. Just saying.
For that room, would it?
I wouldn't think so. Kenny hasn't given us a quote downstairs yet. He's waiting to see once the walls are put up what actually needs. Because we reached out to Kenny Halls on that. So I was just kind of wondering what the board's intent was before I did anything.
So I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I don't think it's gonna amount to that much.
Just want me to get a quote and bring it back and see what it is, or what do you guys want me to do? I don't care.
I'd say get a quote.
Get an idea where you're at.
And then you want me to have Ben's Plumbing to come and take out that other stink pipe and replace that then?
I thought we were doing.
I thought that too. When I was down there, I was like, why did you only do one? And Reggie thought he had only heard one, so I just wanted to make sure. So I'll have them come back and do the other one, so. I was just, wanted to ask before I did, so, okay. Other than that, it's going along.
Anything else for the office?
I don't think so. I think that's all.
Did he come back on the spring and reshine those steps?
Well, he came back and did something to them. They're better than what they were, but he needs to come and sand it a little bit more and then recoat them. So, the stained glass window guy called yesterday and said that he has to get more glass from Chicago, but they're hoping to have it installed next month. That's what he said, so they're working on it, so. It'll be nice when it's done, hopefully.
Ribbon cutting and everything?
I don't know. You wanted some more money. Just saying on that, so.
Anything for, fiscal year 24-25 budget review?
Well, I made some changes I wanted to go over with the board with. They're in this like teal sticky. The first one is the ambulance. No, we had 230 in there for an ambulance, and I decreased it to 130. That's what we talked about, correct?
Yeah.
So I decreased that to 130 then. Then the next one is the county attorney's budget. The first one is the software. There's a maintenance every year on the software. There's 8260 that we weren't aware of, so we included that in the budget to include that.
That was the fee it adjusted to. We were, there would be a fee, just the amount of it. It was a floating number.
Yeah.
And they told us that they anticipate that it will be fairly cost controlled over future years, just for your guys' information.
And then we upped his dues and memberships because he gets, what's that?
Is it my Westlaw?
I think so, your Westlaw.
Okay, yeah, so obviously like my biggest expenditure in that area is Westlaw. That's my centralized legal research subscription. I've been trying to keep it as cost controlled as I can by selecting a moderate plan. In other words, like, you know, there are certain things that I just do without or kind of go out into the internet on. That's, you know, if I have to compare something that's going on in Iowa to something that's going on in another state, we don't have all those cases. So I do try and keep the cost from rising, and, you know, it's not an extravagant plan that I have that has access to everything. It's just that that's what that costs now. And that is kind of the reason I wanted to adjust it, so I'm not coming back to you guys for a budget amendment on that.
So those two changes I made on that. Then the next one is courthouse. It's a jail remodel. I don't, you know, John said 500,000 this year, but, you know, I don't know where this all lies, so I'm doing a budget amendment for that 400,000, so that's why I put that re-estimate. I put 400,000 in there, and I just took 100,000 in there for next year, thinking that some stuff might carry over. And then we did that, doing a budget amendment for 100,000 this year, and then I put the $1 million in for next year. It's pretty much our. I don't know. I don't have anything in there. What are you guys thinking about tiling? Are you gonna wait with that? Try to do it next year? Wait to see? When I talked to Rock, he said it's possible. And I asked him, you know, he's just guessing, but I said 50, 70,000. He said maybe between 30 or 40. That's what he told me. He told me he could do it in June, but I said, you know, I gotta take bids on this. So, but that seem about right, maybe? I don't know. So I don't have that in the budget. I don't know if you guys wanted me to increase that or not. I have 100,000 in for next year, but I was, I wanted, if the board allows it, to paint the hallways and retention on all floors, but I don't know what you guys were thinking. Because they have that 20,000 in for permanent landscaping, but if we're gonna tile, we need to do that first before we landscape.
Was he thinking around the whole building?
He was, yeah, that's what Rocky, I mean, I just called him, he didn't look at anything, he just said that could be done. But,
You gotta dig up the cement and everything, like on that end.
yeah, he thought, it just depends, once they get there, and he doesn't know how far you have to go down.
That's, really, there's no problem on that end, is there?
We're finally getting the long E-spouts are coming in finally next week, hopefully.
The concrete is angled a little bit.
You'll need to see how that footprint of the new jail impacts where you go to drain that tile.
Yeah, I know we were gonna wait on
The lay
that.
of the land is, someone would have to come out and look to see where you'd have to drain that to.
Yeah, he said that normally you would find the drain to the city or whatever, but if not, he said they put sump pumps in areas too before. Dig a hole, I don't know if we wanna go that route, but.
I did not talk to, Kendall Alman would be the street department that I need to talk to for sewer. I talked to this water department and they said, talk to the street for the storm sewer. I didn't get that done, but Dan with the sewer department said, well, tying into the storm sewer may be an option, but if it's frozen or plugged or overwhelmed, it's also gonna put pressure on your system rather than just being an outlet. I hadn't thought of that, and that may be something that we want to avoid, so I would lean towards that tile going into the existing sump hole in the existing basement of the jail that previously was unaware of. And I first thought that after construction would be the time to deal with it, but getting the tile in on the west side of the courthouse before the construction is done there and you're limited on access and might be wise. Is it harmful or a problem to install the tile even without an outlet yet at this point? Then you're just tying onto it later to get to your sump or to determine if there's a place in the new structure that you'd do the sump or.
I don't think it'd be an issue to lay it down. They're not connected to anything right away.
Just know where the
This is not
connection.
a footprint of that building.
Yeah.
Footings.
But I believe the drawings of the new structure are just ground up, not a basement or any sort of crawl space or lower level or anything, right?
I don't know.
What they got out of their boring samples, if they're gonna have to bring clay in and, move all that topsoil. I don't know what they got out of that yet, but.
I got a report last week, I think, on it, but I haven't looked at it. I printed it, but I haven't looked at it. I'm assuming John will go over that today, I'm guessing.
So if there isn't good ground there, they'll take ground out and bring good ground back in.
I'd like to have somebody actually look at it. I mean, we're not that far on the ground.
No.
Maybe if you did the landscaping and the extra long, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody come in and give us a recommendation on what to do with it.
Yeah. You can put it in there, I guess.
So should I up it? I have 100,000 per building. Do you mean to up it to 150 again? Or I was thinking.
Because it went down from.
I had 150 budget the last 2 years. And I decreased it to 100,000 because we have most of the office repairs are done this year. It's just painting now, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Nobody wants new carpet. They don't want to deal with it. So painting was enough. Did everybody in?
Just because it's in there doesn't mean we have to spend it.
No, it is not. Not at all.
I'd say just leave it and see where we end up.
Leave it at 100,000, okay. Can do that. And then the next thing was the transfers. Both revenue and expense that I have general basic transferring 150 this year into the ambulance fund and 175,000 next year. That's what board talked about. Does that make sense? And then the revenues are just the ambulance fund receiving those transfers. And then I printed out a new fund balance sheet. On the fund balances, they look pretty good. Just don't know what the board's wishes were there. Forget the way they are, or? I think general fund balance is 1.75 or 1,702,000 after everything. And the rural basic and general basic is the max that we can levy on. General supplemental, I think last year we budgeted $1 and I kept the levy rate the same. We're pretty much right on what the carryover we should have in general supplemental. Just depending on what happens tonight at public safety, those, you know, if everybody's staying the same, then we're good. If we're doing any increase or decrease more, then obviously that'll have to get changed, but kept it all the same, so.
Like seeing the general fund ending fund balance grow, honestly, at the levels we're at.
Next, I don't, you know, this year we're transferring from general basic into general supplemental. I don't have that in the budget for next year to do that. If the board wants that, you have to let me know. We don't, I mean, if we leave it at $1, general supplemental is good. I mean, we're at our, we're close to our 75% or 25% fund balance in that. I mean, we're a little over that, but.
I'd favor reducing supplemental and then doing that transfer, but. And on the courthouse repairs, not putting that 50,000 in, because we've had years where we haven't utilized what we did budget.
Mhm.
I know we need the spending authority and have to do an amendment, but just my thoughts. And then that opioid fund, if we get that percentage amount, if we just reduce it to be kind of in line with that.
I'm happy we're in the place that we're at. Pretty fortunate there, but.
I'm happy where it's at.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Because we'll be talking about this again next week anyway.
Yeah, the last week in February, we're gonna have to decide when we're gonna have our first meeting, public hearing. Do you want me to play around with the transfers and general basic to general supplemental, or just leave it alone, or what do you want me to do?
Do whatever an auditor does.
Well, I need direction from the board.
She should do what we direct her to do. This is our budget review.
I can do what the board tells me to do.
I'm fine either way.
I'm fine the way it's at.
We're gonna increase the levy on a jail bond project. We've increased the levy on EMS. I think trying to limit that ending fund balance is reasonable and appropriate.
So maybe run those numbers to see what they look like.
So what are you thinking, 90 cents, 80 cents, 85, 95?
I'd target no growth in the ending fund balance or a little bit of reduction, I guess. So I don't know.
In what fund?
General fund, sorry. I'm not sure what that 5 or 10 cents you talked about in supplemental generates.
I would have to check, I don't know. I'll do 95 cents, 90 cents, and just send you what the ending fund balances would be then if I did that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, you can give us the numbers and we can look at it.
Okay, I can do that.
Show us options.
I can do that.
So that still falls into whatever an auditor does.
Yeah, under the direction of the board, yeah.
There's nothing further. We'll talk about this again next week. Claims?
Names 1306, 7, and 8 are for Bosma Water Service.
I make that motion to pay those claims.
Supported.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining?
I will abstain.
Motion carries.
He must be just like the waitress in a restaurant. Yeah, he right when he had his mouth full. Seems like they always come around. Need anything? You sit with their mouth full.
I didn't even look to see who was eating.
Nothing stuck out at me. I make a motion on the rest of the claims.
All those in favor? Go.
The siding on the ambulance building, what fund will that come out of? And
General.
is that complete?
I don't know, he's gonna come here to talk to us, because that's gonna be a board decision.
Which has any of that been submitted yet, or
What?
has any of that been submitted yet or not? Okay.
Well, we had to pay $15,000 down last fiscal year. We haven't paid anything, I don't think, this year yet.
All right, thank you.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That deal at the sheriff's office this afternoon, who's all going, so we don't have a quorum.
I can't make it back up there for
I
that.
thought we'd come back either.
Okay.
I hope to.
Okay.
I think he should just post a work session or public notice whenever they're gonna be here, so that if we do get a majority of the board, it's not an issue.
I'd like him to just bring it to a meeting next time for what they're getting paid. It ain't chump change, so it's like, you know what? I think you can come to the meeting.
I was just wondering, because I was planning on going, but if other people were, then I wasn't. Are you going, Leroy?
Probably not.
Okay, then I will.
And you're going. Just an update on the bond. Becky and Bill were in yesterday and we filled out an application, so Bill thought he would have quotes by yesterday at noon, but that ain't happening. Now they need more information, so I'll know more. We're working on it at least, so.
When's the legislative session over?
Try to be over in March, don't they?
It's the end of
April,
March, isn't it?
March?
May,
May?
the per diem, like 110 days or something like that.
In May?
Do you drag your feet to see if they do change that, because it is up for discussion?
Or
The bonding,
I don't know.
because
I
you
don't
can
know.
do it, and then if they change the law, I guess you can cancel it.
Possibly. Now they needed they need an employee list, so I had to give them that, and their title and what they made. They needed that information.
The way the language reads in the bill that's presented just changes it to some sort of insurance coverage of some sort.
Instead of an actual bond.
Yeah, which may be something we probably already have, but,
We have the criminal part of it.
yeah. So maybe we still have to have a different policy to cover that other end of it, but at least it's not a bond.
Well, hopefully we can do this one company and not the other.
So, like, I don't know, do it, cancel it if they change it.
See? Yeah, I don't know. They thought it'd be like $75 per person projecting, but I don't know that for sure.
I'll make a motion on the last thing on the agenda.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, same